Tasyodaya Sthitilayo Niyati Pradaya Jnana Pradaya Vibudha Surasaukya Dukkha Satkaranaya Vitataya Namo Namaste Asidudara Gunavarihira Prameya Narayana Paratama Paramatma Ekaha Samshanta Samvitakilam Jakare Nithaya Lakshmi Pujantaragata Swarato Pichagri Tasyodarastha Jagata Sadamanda Sandra Swananda Tushtava Pusho Piramaramasya Bhutyai Nijashrita Janaste Sujjasasta Viksha Babhuva Paranama Nimeshakante Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Mahatva Dharavatvacha Mahabharata Muchyate Niruktamasya Yo Veda Sarva Papais Pramuchyate Yadihasi Tadam Yatra Yannehasi Na Kutrachit Devam Narayanam Natva Sarvadosha Vivarjitam Paripurnam Gurunscha Geetartham Pakshyami Leshatah Lakshmi Narayanam Natva Purna Bodhan Gurunapi Kurma Shri Krishna Geetayaha Bhashya Duktartha Sangraham. Hari Om. Good morning, everyone. The story so far that we have seen in Bhagavad-Gita up to the fourth chapter, we saw the Vishada Yoga, the first chapter, primarily depicting the state where everything changes. And change is something that we are unable to face properly. As humans, if there is something that we all need to learn properly, it's about managing the change. That's the only thing that we need to learn. Right? We are good at everything. When summer turns to rainy season, we blame it. When rains turn to the autumn, we hate it. Autumn turns to the winter, we hate it. Winter turns to summer, we hate it. Summer to spring, we hate it. So we just keep hating different seasons, right? We get married to our favorite person, the person that we love the most, but suddenly the change that occurs, that I have to now share the wardrobe with somebody, we start hating that. We don't know how to manage change. We form a group of friends. Suddenly, when a new person comes, it's difficult for many of us to adjust. When there are new people coming our homes, it's a problem. When the company asks us to change locations, I mean, change is the only thing that we don't know how to face. Some of these changes, they appear desirous, so we might not complain. And many such changes are undesirous, and that is where the problems are. If there is a single line definition to what a problem is, it's primarily an undesired change, undesirable change. That's a problem, right? That's the way we understand. And the first chapter is all about change, right? Arjuna, who was very keen on the war, suddenly gives up the war. Right? That's the change, and that's not a desirable situation, right? Even before the first chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita begins, Bhishmacharya, who is impregnable, right? You can't defeat him. He falls down, right? The might of the Kaurava army, 11 Akshauhini Sainya, suddenly looks small to Duryodhana. Right? A lot of changes happening, changes physically on the ground around us, and changes within us, within our own mind. And this yoga is primarily upaya. It's all about equipping ourselves how to face the change. Yoga Shastra, right? That's the science of managing change in simplistic sense. And what is it that we need? First, he gives us the Sankhya Yoga. To face any situation, it's important for us to be analytical, and more important, along with being analytical, is that having the ability of the darshana, being the observer. The word Sankhya is often associated with the word darshana as well, like Sankhya darshana. Right? We being the observers rather than being part. So, are we the actors or are we the audience of the movie where we are acting? Life is an unspoken ballet, right? We are all, playing out into a nice storyline. Are we observing ourselves, or are we just forgetting everything else and just deeply indulged in the act? right? So observing what exactly is happening is important. And Sankhya, the Sankhya Yoga, brings that element in a nice way. By instilling the fact that Arjuna, you need to be emotionally strong. Prajnavada. Don't cry. No. Nainam shochitum arhasi, natvam shochitum arhasi, na anushochitum arhasi, ashochyananva shochastvam. Multiple shlokas in the second chapter are constantly revolving around don't cry. And then focus, right? Bring back the focus in the analytical skills. When we analyze situations, we often they tend to hear statements like, paralysis sort of analysis. Don't do that. We can't boil the ocean, right? We have to be extremely focused in any analysis that we do. When Arjuna was crying hoarse about Desha Dharma, Kala Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, everything going for a toss, with this gory war, with this extreme war, Nimittani Japachyami, right? So, Adharma, Vibhavat Krishna, Pradushyanti, Kulastriyaha, various things that he keeps mentioning in the first chapter. Krishna brings back the forces. First, look at Swadharma. Don't look at every bit of Dharma. Look at Swadharma. Right? There are about 10 shlokas where Krishna brings it about. So, brings back the scoping, brings back the focus, brings back the attention towards what your Swadharma is. Don't look at Dharma from an all-encompassing manner. Be a little more specific. And then being resolute, right? In analysis, being resolute, being determined, being sthira buddhi is extremely important. Many a times, quite often we tend to, encounter dead-end situations. We can't go further, but we need to be resolute. That's the third part. So that's where sthira buddhi, sthita dhi, vyavasayatmika buddhi. It's all about being resolute, being determined, perseverance, right? And that is where we get to hear the concept of the sthita buddhi, sthita dhi, sthita prajna. And Krishna explains that also very well. At the end of the day, it's all Brahmi Sthiti. More explanation of that Brahmi Sthiti comes in the 5th chapter, so we'll keep that aside. And then we move on to the 3rd chapter. Now, whenever we have to face the problem, we have to face change. Wherever we have to be yogyas, right? We have to be yogya jivas, right? Being the yogya jivas is all about having the yoga, right? You're capable beings. Capable for what? Capable for living life. What is so special about life that we need to be capable? Change, right? It's all change. Different things keep happening. Something happens to my child, I need to face it. Something happens to my property, I need to face it. Something happens in my career, I need to face it. Every day, even if I am just a small housewife, if you think that the story of a housewife is pretty easy, suddenly you will have a guest. Suddenly, the night we feed the people, and the morning they are hungry again, right? Nothing remains the same. Everything keeps changing, right? No one is spared of being able to or being required to face the change. So, in terms of facing the change, if having that analytical skills is the primary skill, then comes karma, right? Assiduity. You need to keep working. So that's where the karma yoga comes. Again, we were led into this thought, we were led into this talk through a beautiful question from Arjuna. But he explains karma in a very beautiful way, Krishna, broken down into 3-4 logical pieces, right? First is the inevitability of action. Action is inevitable. Everyone is doing something or the other, whether I like it or not, right? Better do the right job, better do the duty, right? My daughter, gets into an accident. I might just, cocoon myself, ostrich myself, bury my head inside the sand and say, oh, I don't know anything. But there also I'm doing something, right? Even if I have to ostrich myself, I have to ostrich myself. There is nothing called inaction. In a proper technical sense, there is nothing called inaction. There is always action. We have to do something or there. So might as well do what is necessary on the ground rather than burying my head like an ostrich, right? I can't do that. So inevitability of action, understanding that we continue to do the duty. Then yajnartha, right? Another 10 odd shlokas in shloka number 9 odd in 3rd chapter. Doing things for the broader good, not from a very selfish motive, right? Yajnartha karma means doing it for a broader good, not for my personal gains, very selfish gains, self-centered gains. From a broader sense, how broad-minded, how interconnected, conscientious, the way we can see we are. Okay? So that's the second yajnartha karma. The third is the loka sangraha. Loka sangraha is all about setting the right standard. So leading by example. For and very nicely, some of the words that he uses is that all of us are leaders, right? We are all leaders already. There is somebody or the other who is looking up to us, all of us. While we look up to somebody, there is somebody who is looking up to us. And then it becomes all the more important that we constantly strive to keep doing good things, keep performing things so nicely that we set an example. Right? So there we have to do the duty nicely. Karma Yoga, many shlokas keep reinstating the fact that samachara, like yajnarthat karmadon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Right? Samachara. It comes again and again and again. Saktaha karmanya vidvanso yatha kurvanti. So like many shlokas, we keep hearing that do it nicely, do it nicely, do it nicely. Like na buddhi vedam janayet ajnanam karma sangina joshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharam. Right? Samacharam is something that we keep hearing again and again and again and again throughout the Karma Yoga discourse from Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Right? Do it nicely, set an example, and do your duty. In fact, in the second chapter also he says, Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Kaushalam karmasu yoga. Yoga is always in doing things nicely. You can't escape that. Right? Again, that phrase has multiple meanings. We have looked into it. We look into it again. There are different interpretations of that one particular phrase. And finally, tattva. Understand the tattva. When we understand tattva, things are happening by themselves. We might as well surrender unto the supreme tattva, which is the Paramatma tattva, and then perform the duty. Right? So, action, karma yoga, broadly can be broken down, but then Arjuna poses a very brilliant question. Why do we go wrong then? When we know the answer is so simple, why do we go wrong? Now, this can be understood in multiple different ways, right? And this is where we are led into jnana. Jnana of what? Jnana of the Supreme. Right? We are led into the Jnana Yoga, the fourth chapter. That is where we are currently. And that is what the first part of the Jnana Yoga, the first 15 shlokas, I would call them as the Paratattva, understanding the Paratattva. That is the part that we are currently on. Right? What is the question from Arjuna? Why do we go wrong? Atakena prayuktoyam, I think shloka number 35, 36 in the third chapter. Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. Okay, atakena prayuktaha ayam purushaha papam charati. Then by what does this purusha get engaged that he does something wrong? Right? Anichannapi, even if undesirous of doing that. Like I don't want to give the bribe, but I end up giving the bribe. We all know deep inside, hand in heart, right? Many a times. Now, another way of looking at this is, why do things go wrong then? When there is so much of great planning being done, right? A lot of good planning, like Bhishmacharya, a part of the blame for his fall is upon himself, right? It was his choice to fall because there is no other way he can fall down other than his own free will. That's his boon, right? Nobody can. I mean, Shikhandi can come, okay, but it is up to him to face Shikhandi or to give up, right? He surrendered, okay, at one point. So why do people go wrong? Because Bhishmacharya doesn't know less, right? He knows very well to stay with his karma, stay with his vihita karma, and that's what he did for 9 days brilliantly. Things go wrong, and somebody's wrongdoing can sabotage a yajna, right? Something can go wrong in my office. Now, this is very important because see, in offices we tend to hear in software development one of the profound philosophical statements is by a gentleman by name Murphy, right? Something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Ultimate acceptance of the Paramatma Tattva. When something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. Right? It's the ultimate acceptance of the Paramatma Tattva, and that is beautiful because if you don't understand that extreme possibility, It's difficult to understand the risk assessment. It's difficult to draw out a risk mitigation plan for anything, right? Many a times, like for example, when the tsunami happened in Chennai, holiday place, right? I'm sure a lot of lives that got lost are perhaps of the people who were not alert enough. And we tend to switch off ourselves when we are on a holiday, right? We can, we offer to go, you know, maybe try out different intoxicants, maybe go extreme in terms of drinking, completely lose. That's the definition of letting the hair down today, unfortunately, right? But when the tsunami kind of thing, tsunami can happen, right? We got to be, and some people who got survived, who survived that event, are perhaps the ones who stayed alert. Of course, they have to be on the safe zone, but alertness is important. We don't know what will come upon us at what point in time. When we understand anything can go wrong, when something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. When that kind of realization comes to us, then it makes even more sense that in everything that we do, we stay alert. And that's exactly what he mentioned, right? Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagat sanyam. In the second chapter, somewhere he mentions that where all the living beings find night to sleep, Sanyami, a self-controlled person, he stays awake. And where everyone is awake, which means they are indulgent in their life activities, this guy stays detached, the Muni, right? He, self-controlled person, he stays detached. Very beautiful explanation coming there. So Paratattva, the last part of the Karma Yoga, beautiful question from Arjuna. Why do we go wrong? It's good to know that dharma is this most supreme thing, but understand that beyond the known thing called dharma, beyond your icha called icha that makes you to pledge yourself to do the dharma, there is something called indriya which can get swayed by kama, krodha, and on top of the indriya, a manas can go wrong. On top of the manas, a buddhi can go wrong. There is something higher than the other. I can do great deal of risk planning for my project, for my personal finances, for the future of my children. Multiple things. I can keep doing multiple things. But something will snatch them away. Man proposes, God disposes. Whether we look at it from a theistic sense or from a more pragmatic sense, like the way Murphy puts it, right? When something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. Okay, accepting the same Paramatma Tattva without mentioning the Paramatma. Like in the first statement where we say man proposes, God disposes, we are somewhere accepting the Paramatma Tattva. In the second, the Murphy's law, somewhere keeps the Paramatma as a concept away, but still speaks the same. When something has to go wrong, it will go wrong. And when something has to go wrong, it's obviously because of the Rajoguna. Because the Rajoguna is disturbance. One manifestation of the Rajoguna is the Kama, which is also strongly associated with Krodha. Right? In everything that we see, wherever things go wrong, it is the Rajoguna that comes into play. It is the Kama Krodha that comes into play at a different Bhautika level. Right? Now, in terms of this Jnana, the awareness, right? Jnana Yoga, the awareness. Awareness is needed in twofold. The first piece of why we need awareness is to understand the risk. What can go wrong? When things have to go wrong when they have to go wrong, right? Going by Murphy, surrender to that destiny, surrender to that providence. We call it as Bhagavan. We call it the Paratattva. Right? We call it the Bhagavad Tattva. Now, in explaining the Paramatma Tattva, Krishna goes on to say, the end of the third chapter, he says, Evam buddhehe param buddhva samstabhya. Understand there is something higher. By looking at that, surrendering to that supreme, then you try to control yourself. Because nothing is directly in your control. The minute we say that something is beyond my control, is the first step towards control. Right? I am accepting there is something beyond me. If everything is within my control, then I really can't control it. When I accept that there are things beyond me, that is where it becomes all the more easier. Then my importance is reduced. Right? And then he goes on to explain this Paratattva, this yoga, the jnana that he gave, he has been giving it from time eternity. Eternal, like from Vivaswan to Manu. Basically explaining that he is the Paramatma. Now he is establishing the fact that he is the Paramatma. And then finally tells Arjuna, I am telling you this because you are my friend. Okay, we saw that, and then we also see another question from Arjuna. How do I know that you are the one who gave it to Vivaswan, who then gave it to Manu, who then gave it to Ikshvaku, and then who then furthered this parampara through the Rajarshis and things like that? How do I know? Because you are born now. Vivaswan was born so long ago. How do I know you are the one who gave? That is where we get to hear more beautiful things from Bhagavan, broadly keeping the markers around in what sense do we understand Bhagavan, right? We don't get a full description of what Bhagavan is at one shot. We get to hear what is the Bhagavad Tattva in bit part way within this Bhagavad-Gita in multiple installments. One installment comes in the fourth adhyaya, the first few shlokas. We are in that section right now. Shloka number, 5 onward in the fourth adhyaya, this chapter. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna. A lot of lives you and I have crossed. I remember all of them, you don't. First tattva, Bhagavanta is sarvajna. He knows everything. He is not as forgetful as we are. So there are different tattvas that we can, different tidbits that we need to bear in mind to, like that Bhagavanta has Ananta Kalyana Gunas, right? You don't really know how many Kalyana Gunas he has. A few of them are coming out through these slokas. So we will just try to collect them as much as we can. So first is, he remembers everything. He knows everything, unlike us. So that brings in the first distinction between us and him. And then he says, Ajaha api avyayatmaha san, bhutanan ishvaraha api san. I am unborn. I am never born. Like when Krishna is born through Devaki, it's a Maya. Ajopi san avyatma san bhutana ishvara san prakritim swam adhisthaya. Swam prakritim adhisthaya. My own prakriti I will take shape into. I will acquire. And sambhavami atma maya. I will manifest. I will appear. Sambhavami, I'll just appear. Okay, through my own atma maya. Atma maya is again Shakti, right? Yadevi sarvabhuteshu Vishnu maya iti shabdita. Atma maya, his own maya is Shakti, the prakriti, right? So, and it is called maya because for us it is avidya. For him it is vidya. That is his own self, right? But for us it is avidya because we don't know. I mean, for Devaki Vasudeva, the womb of the Garbha of Devaki was perhaps an illusion created. He came at one point in time because he was always there. But when he came out with this Chaturbhuja Rupa, Shankha Chakra Gada, Padma. He was holding those and it came out. And Devaki Vasudeva got scared. Like, no, oh, please don't reveal this Rupa. And he says that, no, because of your tapasya, I'm coming and things like that. But he says, they say, please get back because Kamsa doesn't like this. I mean, not that Krishna doesn't know, but it's just the avatar, right? He had to communicate the message and so also bless them for their, tapasya and things like that, which has been, aneka janma samsiddhi, right? It's not from one janma, it's from aneka janma, right? So the Bhagavan, he is ajaha, he is never born, but he manifests, he appears in front of us. He is avyayatma, his body doesn't change. He doesn't change, his body doesn't change. His body remains with him. We might see it in different shapes and sizes, but he is always like that. Avyayatma, never changes. Bhutanam Ishvaraha, he is the Lord of all the living beings. Prakritim Swamatistaya, he will take his own Prakriti. The entire Prakriti is his. Right? He will just take a little bit and then Sambhavan appears. That is what we saw till the previous session. We continue to look at more of the Paramatma Tattva. So Paramatma Tattva is one, he remembers everything and he can just come whenever he desires. The Prakriti is his, the Maya is his own. Entire magic, what we see, this entire creation is his own. He doesn't have to be born, he never changes, and he is the Lord of all the living beings. He is the Bhutanam Ishvara, he is the Bhagavanta, he is the Ishvara of all the living creatures. Some of the Paramatma, the Gunas, right? And whenever he has to appear, he will just appear. That's his Leela, no questions to be asked. So on the link given by Vijayji on this room, a beautiful website by the Aurobindo Institute, put together by Dr. Sampadananda. Quite useful. Click on that. We will come to shloka number 7 of the 4th adhyaya. It reads like this: Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuttanamadharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuttanamadharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. When we scroll down a bit, we will see a section called Padacheda. It says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi bhavati, O Bharata, abhyutthanam adharmasya tada atmanam srijami aham. When we put these words in a proper sentence, we hear this. That's given in the section just above called the Anvaya. The Anvaya reads, Hey Bharata, yada yada dharmasya glanihi bhavati, adharmasya abhyutthanam api bhavati. We can add api bhavati. Tadahi aham atmanam srijami. What does that mean? When we go on top and click on the link called dictionary, Hey Bharata, O Bharata, O the progeny of Bharata Vamsha, right? That's Bharatasya Patyam Arjuna. Arjuna is part of the Bharata Vamsha. O Arjuna, O Bharata, Yada Yada Dharmasya Glanihi Bhavati. Whenever the dharma fades, the fading of the dharma takes place, Adharmasya Abhyutthanam Bhavati. And also the uprising of adharma takes place. Tadahi aham, then and there itself I will, or then itself I will, atmanam srijami. I will, come forth into the manifestation on this planet, something like that, right? So basically, I think the context here is very simple. Arjuna was crying about dharma, adharma, oh, we have to focus. So Krishna's point is very clear. At one side he said, okay, look at your dharma. Don't look at the Desha dharma, Kala dharma, Sanatana dharma, the big picture of the dharma. You can't boil the ocean, right? No one can. You focus on your dharma. I am there. The Paramatma Tattva will come. Broader angle of things I will do. But in your dharma, if it is a Shastra dharma of protection, don't say that no, Bhagavan will come. You do your duty. Right? We have to all do our duty. Because dharma, Vedo Kilo Dharma se Mula. The entire Vedas are the Mula for the Dharma Shastras. They're not coming from thin air out of nowhere, right? They're all rooted in the Shastras. So for Krishna's, for Arjuna's mindset, where he was crying hoarse about, oh, Adharma, Vibhavad, Krishna, all of that he was crying, right? In the, Prichami Tvam, Dharma Sammuhoda Cheta, I don't know. All the things about dharma that Arjuna was crying, Krishna first brings in the focus back. Okay, look at Swadharma. Swadharme Nidhanam Shreyaha. Even if you die doing a Swadharma, that's Shrestha for you. Because Arjuna has been constantly asking, what is good for me, what is good for me. But if you really are bothered about the bigger picture of the dharma, don't bother, I am there. That Paramatma, he will come. As and when the adharma goes on top, dharma goes for a toss, I will come. Why should you bother? Right? The balancing act is with him. On the larger scheme of things, which is the yajna cycle, he will take care of it. Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. Whensoever there is the fading of the dharma and the uprising of the unrighteousness or adharma, then I lose myself, I release myself to come forth into the manifestation here on this planet. Right? Pretty simple. And this is again many things about the Paramatma Tattva, right? Remembers everything, unborn, unchangeable, the God Ishvara of all the beings. Okay, whenever he has to come, he has to just do some magic around his own Prakriti, because the entire Prakriti is his. And he will come whenever the dharma goes for a toss and adharma uprising happens. Right? Some of the gunas that we can think for what this Paramatma Tattva can be. Right? Then Paritranaya Sadhunam, shloka number 8 on the top, we have this link called the next. We can click on that and then move to next. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya च दुष्कृताम् dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Right? What's the padacheda? Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya च दुष्कृताम् dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. What does the Anvaya sound like? Sadhunam paritranaya dushkritam vinashaya cha dharma samsthapana arthaya cha aham yuge yuge sambhavami. Again, he will come whenever dharma goes for a toss, whenever adharma increases, but that is not all. Also, to sadhuna paritranaya, when we click on dictionary, it says for the deliverance of the good, for the resurrection of the good, for the upkeep of the dharma, for the upkeep, for the well-being of the sadhu, the good people, and dushkritam vinashaya, and for the destruction of the evildoers, the ones who do the evil acts, and for dharma samsthapanarthaya, for the purpose of establishing or re-establishing dharma, for the enthroning of the right. Yuge yuge sambhavami. I show myself, I show up time after time, age after age, yuga after yuga. Right? More amshas around understanding Paramatma Tattva. Right? Very simply put, let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. For the deliverance of the good, for the destruction of the evildoers, for the enthroning of the right, I am born from age to age. Or I appear, yuga after yuga, time after time, something like that. Right? Now, he doesn't say that he will do the destruction. He didn't say that, he will look after. To ensure all of these things, right? The key message is to ensure that, again, whenever we hear the word vinasha, vinasha can come in multiple different ways. Anityatva, dehahani, dukkha prapti, apurnata. He will create one of these four or all four, or combination of few. Like, he will make people feel apurna. He will make people, go irrelevant, anitya. People, go completely dukkha prapti. That is all nasha, vinasha, visheshataya nasha. Right? So that's about. So not necessarily that he will do it. We have to continue doing our dharma. But the big picture, he will do the balancing act. That's the whole purpose of this. Right? When we become, so understanding this Paramatma Tattva then becomes essential for us to continue to pledge ourselves in the path of our dharma. Because the primary question in this section from Arjuna is, why do we go wrong from staying in the path of our duty? Right? Understand things can go wrong, and ultimate way the things can go wrong is where we have to understand to the Paramatma Tattva, and the big picture is left to the Paramatma. Right? We have to follow our dharma, forget everything else, get the tunnel vision on, get the horseshoe, vision on, and continue doing our job. Right? Sloka number 9, very important. It says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. The Padacheda gives us Janma karma cha me divyam evam yaha veti tattvataha tyaktva deham पुनः जन्म न एति माम एति सह अर्जुना. Let's see how the Anvaya sounds. Hey Arjuna, evam yah me divyam janma karma cha tattvatah veti saha deham tyaktva punah janma na eti mam eti. What does that mean when we click on dictionary? Hey Arjuna, oh Arjuna, evam yah, the one who, like this, thus, the one who may divyam janma karma cha tattvatah veti. My divya janma and karma knows through the tattva, through the elemental truth, through the elemental aspect. So Arjuna, the one who understands this manifestation and acts of mind, the karma of mind, through tattva, the proper tattva, not as a gospel truth, right? Whatever. So this tattvataha is something that we keep hearing, right? In the second chapter, he says, "Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah, ubhayorapi dushtvantastvanayor tattvadarshibhi." Tattva, important to understand through tattva. Don't just take it as a blind truth because the Bhagavan is telling. Use your brain, get the conviction right. Whatever we hear through the scriptures could be the indirect knowledge. Make them direct, right? For that, we need to understand through the tattva. We have to internalize those teachings. Don't take it as a blind message. In the third chapter, he says, right? Tattva vittu mahabaho gunakarma vibhagayoho guna guneshu vartanta iti matvana sajjate. The one who understands the tattva behind the action, he will know that it's the gunas playing on the gunas and doesn't get attached. Like I'm at the eating carrot halwa, there is sweetness in carrot halwa, there is a sweet craving on my tongue. One is falling on the other. I don't get indulgent. Right? When we become observers like that, understand through tattva, we then become observers. Right? So he is telling, don't just take it as my gospel truth. Understand it through the tattva. The one who understands that, my janma, my karma, my being, through the tattva, proper tattva, okay, tattvataha, saha deham tyaktva, that person after giving up this body, punaha janmana eti, he will not attain another janma. Mam eti, he will come to me. Right? He will come directly to me. Okay, that is mukti, the way we understand, right? Becoming one with Bhagavan, the way we understand that most people's ultimate aim is to become one with Bhagavan. We already are part of Bhagavan, just that Swarupa Jnana should dawn upon us. We have to know what exactly we are, what exactly we are supposed to do constantly. Right? That is the whole purpose. Right? When we understand Bhagavanta's Janma and Karma through the Tattva, that he is Ajaha, he is Avyayatma, he is the Bhutanam Ishvaraha, and he will do the Sambhavami Yuge Yuge for whenever Dharmasya Glanihi Bhavati, Adharmasya Abhyuthanam Bhavati, okay, to take care of the sadhu, sadhunam paritranaya, dushkrutanam vinashaya, dharma samsthapanarthaya. Okay, for all these things, whatever he does, whatever he is, when we understand it through the tattva, basically understanding the big picture balancing act is beyond us. Many people think that COVID was a big balancing, energy. It did a lot to the climate change, because the human activity suddenly came down, right? So there are different stories. Suddenly some floods are balancing acts. Okay, some tsunamis sometimes are balancing acts. There is a song called "Take It Back," right, by a band called Pink Floyd. She will take it back someday. The nature will take it all back. She will do the balancing act. Even the best of the rational minds will tend to agree that there is always a balancing act that happens, right? So that is this tattva. Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says for this. For that, we need to go back to the main screen of shloka. He who knows thus, okay, in its right principles through the tattva, that my divine birth and my divine work, when he abandons his body, comes not to rebirth, he comes to me, O Arjuna. Little complicated English, but basically, one who understands my being, my manifestation, and my acts through the proper tattva. Okay, once he gives up his body, he will come to me. He will not come back to samsara. Because samsara is all about confusion, right? Again, giving up the body. Let's understand one thing. It's a continuous process. We are constantly giving up the body. Whenever we move out of a comfort zone, a previous comfort zone to the new zone, we have moved into a new body. When we got married, we got into a new house, new body, right? When we got into a job from being students, we got into a new body. There is a new life, right? Come back to birth means coming back to the confusions. Coming to the God means devoid of confusions, devoid of what to do, because it's all about managing change, right? Change is constant. We got to be steady to manage that change, right? So let's see what next comes. We'll move on to sloka number 10. This is pretty simple, but again, importance of understand everything through tattva. Don't just take my words as a gospel truth. Right? Shloka number 10, it reads like this. Vitaraga bhayakrodha manmaya mamupashritaah bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataah. Vitaraga bhayakrodha manmaya mamupashritaah bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataah. The Padacheta gives us Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha Manmayaha Mam Upashritaha Bahavaha Jnana Tapasa Putaha Madbhavam Agataha. Anvaya, the prose order. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha Manmayaha Mam Upashritaha Jnana Tapasa Putaha Bahavaha Madbhavam Agataha. Again, more on the Paramatmika Tattva, right? The Paratattva, he explains. Let's see what the meaning is. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha. Free from Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. Free from attachment, fear and anger. Manmayaha. Full of me. Full of being in the complete Bhagavad Dhyana, Bhagavad Chintana, Bhagavad Adhinata. Mam Upashritaha. Completely under my ashraya, under taking refuge under me. Jnana tapasa putaha, completely purified through the austerity of knowledge. Bahavaha, okay, many people. Madbhava magataha, they acquired my bhava. They have come to my bhava. Right? So again, just to substantiate the Uttarardha story of the previous shloka, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Sorjuna, basically that attaining Bhagavanta is getting close to the Bhagavad Bhava, Mat Bhava. Once we understand, gain this knowledge through Tattva, right? And getting the knowledge through Tattva cannot be that simple. Right? Getting that knowledge will require some bit of tapa, austerity. Right? Once people acquire that, they will get into the bhava. Now, we need to understand this. Bhava has been used a couple of times before. One is na sato vidyate bhavaha. Na asataha bhavaha vidyate. Right? Na asataha bhavaha vidyate. Na abhavaha sataha vidyate. Na sataha abhavaha vidyate. Na asataha bhavaha vidyate. When we say mat bhava, Bhagavad bhava, it's the Bhagavad Satya. Basically, Bhagavad bhava means Bhagavad Satya. And there is also in the second chapter he says, Nacha bhavayatah shanti. Because there is also no peace without the proper sadbhava. So when we hear these things, I think we need to remember some of those statements as well. When he says madbhava magataha, it primarily means that we acquire the complete sadbhava of the Bhagavan, get close to that sadbhava of Bhagavan, and in the process of getting the sadbhava of Bhagavan, we will also acquire shanti. Give me a couple of minutes. There is something that's come up out here. Let me quickly attend one call out here and then come back. Give me about a minute. I'll just come back. In the meanwhile, if somebody wants to come up on stage and then do some chintana and have some questions, I will perhaps be listening in. But give me about a minute. I'll just come back. Pravina ji, would you like to? Okay. Sorry. I think it can be managed. Okay. My wife is there. I'm sorry. Okay. This is sloka. Okay. Let's see what Aurobindo translation says for this. One moment. Sloka number 10. The Aurobindo translation says. Okay. Delivered from the liking and the fear and the anger, full of me, okay, manmayaha, taking refuge in me, mam upashitaha, many people purified by the austerity of knowledge, bahavaha jnana tapasa putaha, have arrived at my nature, madbhavamagataha, the divine nature of Purushottama, right? But some of the way we need to understand is that, being unwavered in the Bhagavad Bhava, we are then part of that yajna, right? The big yajna, saha yajna, prajaha srištva. We don't really get into confusions and things like that. Okay, we are completely sorted in terms of what we are supposed to do. Doing things in the Bhagavad Bhava. That's the way we have to look at this. And again, this should be looked at from the perspective of the previous question from Arjuna. Right now, there are two. One is, why do we go wrong, knowing exactly what needs to be done? And secondly, how do I know that you are the Paramatma? Right? Now we move on to sloka number 11. On the top, we click on next. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstathaiva bhajamyaham mamavartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvashah. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstathaiva bhajamyaham mamavartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvashah. Padacheda. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatha eva bhajami aham mama vartma eva anuvartante manushyaha partha sarvashah. Anvaya, the prose order. He partha, ye mam yatha prapadyante aham tam tatha eva bhajami manushyaha sarvashah mama vartma eva anuvartante. What does that mean? He partha, O son of Pritha, O Arjuna, ye mam yatha prapadyante, just as and how people surrender unto me, as and how people take refuge under me, as and how people seek me. Prapaddi, basically surrender, right? Sharanam prapaddi. As and how people come under me, aham tam tatha eva bhajami. I will reciprocate, I will offer myself to them in a commensurate way, in a reciprocal way. The earlier sloka, couple of slokas, and we see the connection, right? Understand his janma karma through the tattva. And once we gain that tattva, once we understand that there is no other way but to offer ourselves, take refuge under him. But while taking refuge under him, we might be taking refuge in different ways. As and how we take refuge under him, whether in the knowledge or in the process of acquiring knowledge, which means part knowledge. And that part can be in different proportions, right? I might be too high in my God realization, God understanding, or could be too rudimentary in my God understanding. But in whichever way we offer, and could be anti also. Anti is also one form of God understanding, right? Or maybe complete indifference is also one kind. With whatever bhava that we acquire, and at the end of the day, all of these are Bhagavad Bhava, right? In whichever way we worship him, like there are people who keep worshipping the occult, deities for some black magic possessions and things like that. He will bless them. Satkaranaya vitataya namo namaste vise, right? One of the Mangala shlokas, Narayanaya paripurna gunarnavaya, Surasaukya dukkha, Satkaranaya vitataya. Whatever we desire, whatever we deserve, he keeps offering that in a commensurate way. However we go down to him, like if I write the exam properly, I will get a good score. If I don't do it properly, I will get a bad score. Very logical. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatha eva bhajami aham. I will reciprocate in a commensurate way for those who offer in whichever way they want to offer themselves to me. No force. You be yourself. Because at the end of the day, he says, no, bhajami manushyaha sarvashah, everyone all the time, mama vartma eva anuvartante. They are simply following my path in whatever they do. You go down to some crazy occult magic goddesses, gods, you are under my path. Because in the 15th chapter we hear that, right? Mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. There are multiple things that is part of him. He will cause the bewilderment also. And that is because of our own ichha. We don't really desire. Many of us, with the right ichha, with the right prayatna, I think we will be able to do a lot more. Right? But when we fail to offer these two, the proper ichha and the proper prayatna, and then we adopt whatever random way that we take up, he will reciprocate. He will bless us in a commensurate way. Right? So don't bother about your broad picture of dharma, adharma. There are many things, Yadyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshayakam dosham mitradrohe chapatakam khatam na jeyam asmabhihi. Like all virtue signaling that Arjuna was trying to tell, right? If these guys, the Kauravas, in their lobha, in their state of greed, if they are unable to see the bad things, why can't we? We are more intelligent, oh Krishna. We should do the right things. Let's give up the war. That's Arjuna's argument. Don't bother, boss. So, whichever way people are offering themselves to me, at the end of the day, Duryodhana is also offering himself to Krishna. Just that he doesn't know. Duryodhana, in whatever he is doing currently, he is offering himself to Krishna. Karna is offering himself to Krishna. Bhishma, Drona, everyone has offered themselves to Krishna. This is something that Arjuna sees later. And when you see the Vishwarupa, he will see all of this later. But everyone is eventually offering things to Krishna. That's what Krishna is explaining. No, don't bother. You don't bother about what other person is doing. You focus on what you are supposed to do. What you are supposed to do is get up and fight. That's the whole point, right? Understand Paramatma Tattva. It's very important to understand the Paramatma Tattva here. Right? In whichever way anybody worships the God, he will bless us in a commensurate way. And whatever we worship, whatever we go behind, we are eventually going for one or the other form of Bhagavanta. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Not for him, from the phala that we get. It's got nothing to do with him. He has nothing to gain from any of this. He will explain that also, right? Let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. I think, did you read that? As men approach me, so I accept them to my love. Bhajami, very interesting word, bhajami, right? Vibhajanat, bhajanat, bhajana. He offers himself, which is he will offer a part of himself to us, right? Bhajami. But of course, nothing can cause a dent in him because he is Purnamadaha Purnamidan, right? You take the entire of him, also the him remains. Men follow in every way my path, O son of Pritha. That's the interpretation, very simple. But again, this is another important distinction, an important element to understand from a Paramatma Tattva. Right? At the end of the day, whether I do the honest job or a not so honest job, a large organization is pretty much unaffected by the idiosyncrasies or the inconsistencies of individuals. The large organizations, they have hedged themselves in multiple different ways. And whatever way I offer myself to the organization will bless me. Beyond a point in time, it will chuck me out. On a very good terms basis, it will promote me, it will give me bonus, it will send me on a holiday. Right? It can do both. And Bhagavanta is the Loka Adhyaksha, right? He's the big organization. The entire Jagat is a big Bhagavan organization. He is that organization, right? So very clearly he says, whichever way you offer yourself to me, I will bless you back. At the end of the day, you all, everyone, all Manushas are following my path. Whether I take name of some random names, so eventually we are worshipping that one God. Shloka number 12, very important. Kamchantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Kamchantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha kshipram himanushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. What does the Padacheda give us? Kamchantah karmanam siddhim yajante iha devataha kshipram hi manushe loke siddhi bhavati karmaja. Siddhi bhavati karmaja. What does that mean in the Anvaya? Iha manushe loke karmanam siddhim kankshantah devataha yajante. Hi karmaja siddhi kshipram bhavati. Right? Iha manushe loke, in this mortal world, let's click on the dictionary. Iha manushe loke, in this human world, karmanam siddhim kankshantah, desiring the karma siddhi, desiring success in their action. Right? Karmanam siddhim kankshantah akankshantah. People who desire karma siddhi, success in their action. Devataha yajante. They worship, they sacrifice to the gods, or they worship to the gods. We worship different deities for the sake of benefits, right? Material benefits. And that is also he mentioned in the third chapter, Devan Bhavayatanena, because there are different Abhimani Devatas, right? Hi karmaja siddhi kshipram bhavati. When you do that, your karma siddhi will swiftly take place, very easily take place, will easily appear. You get success. Don't worry. For the sake, so he mentioned that, right? In this yajna is where your progress lies. You will get whatever you desire. All you need to do is keep the respective deities happy. They will keep you happy. You both keep each other happy. You both will be supreme. You both will achieve greatness. No devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantuvaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyata. Right? That's something that we saw. Right? So very clearly he says, because see, Manush, the siddhi prapti is very important. We all are trying to attain some or the other siddhi. Arjuna wants to win the war and also keep the people intact. That's his worry, though he hasn't mentioned that. And that's where Krishna kept on telling, niriyoga kshema atmavan, don't bother about yoga kshema. Everyone wants some or the other type of success. Even with Arjuna's intent of taking up sannyasa, of taking to the begging for the sake of livelihood, is with the desire, is with the motive of keeping the Acharya and Pitamaha intact. So there is some karma siddhi, karmaja siddhi, that he is expecting. Success out of a, action, born out of action. Karmaja is born out of action, right? And Krishna is telling, see, his divine nature is such that under that divine nature there are multiple different devatas. You worship these devatas, you will definitely get the results. Like just before the Yuddha, Arjuna worshipped Durga Mate. She is the ultimate energy of Kriya Shakti. Right? Kriya Shakti comes maximum from Durga Mate. She blesses him completely. You will get success, don't worry. And he has to focus on that. Now he suddenly changed his goalposts to different things. Right? You will get whatever you need in this society, whatever anybody needs, there is a detailed yajna design that has been drawn out. And whatever one wants, they will get it. You want food, there are different Abhimani Devatas. You want water, you want rain, you want success. You want knowledge, you want money. There are different Abhimani Devatas. You offer your yajna to them, they will keep you happy. You will get the results immediately. Right? The Aurobind interpretation says, they who desire the fulfillment of their works on earth sacrifice to the various gods. And the fulfillment that is born of works is very swift and easy in this human world. Right? Very simple. Not much difficult to understand. So again, under this Paramatma Tattva, this is all under Paramatma Tattva. When he is the supreme, under him there are different other Abhimani Devatas also. Right? We will move on to the next one. This is again a very contentious shloka. Right? Shloka number 13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashah tasya kartaramapi mam vidya kartaramavyayam. Give me one moment, I'll just come back.
जय श्री कृष्णा प्रवीणा जी। Jai Shri Krishna. It's been beautiful listening, right? The fourth
Yeah,
chapter is filled with such very interesting things.
I might need about 2 minutes. Give me about 2, 3 minutes. I'll just come back, Praveenaji. Thank you so much for coming
Jai
up with
Shri
me.
Krishna. Jai Shri
Thank
Krishna.
you.
In fact, I was thinking about the Manmana and other topics that uh, Bhartaji was discussing today. It's so beautiful how you know the entire thing of offering everything as part of yajna without or with our knowledge is combined together in this chapter. It's like when Bharataji was mentioning that even Duryodhana is actually offering himself, just that he does not know. I think that gives a totally different perspective to how everything is involved as Bhagavad Gita. So that was a very very interesting thing, which means that every single thing, it's like the chaos theory that we speak of today, right? Whatever anybody does at any part, some way or the other is going to contribute to the overall changes. So that's the Yajna of Bhagavan.
yeah, everything has some part in the bigger picture, kind of.
Very very interesting. And also the other thing which you were speaking of earlier is like, uh, whatever we do, it's like uh, every thing we have to keep acting. It's like there is nobody at no point of time who does not act. So rather act on whatever is useful, as mentioned by Bhagavan, rather than doing it out of your own wish, right? So that's like, I remember reading somewhere that, even ants are busy. I think Bharataji is back. Jai Shri Krishna, Bharataji.
Give me one moment.
So even ants are busy, right? But what we are busy on is what makes the difference, not the question of being busy. So that is again a very, very insightful thing. So we should be busy with sattvic things rather than other aspects. Wow.
Apologies. Some domestic things. Okay. So we
Very
didn't look at the meaning
insightful,
of.
Bharataji. We were just discussing on what you had mentioned.
Ah,
And when you were saying that everything is part of this big yajna of Bhagavan, I thought it is a very, very important concept. When you mention even Duryodhana is a part of it, just that he does not realize, Arjuna realizes that only during the Vishwarupa. That gives a very, very nice perspective, Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. Yes, we will see that. We will see that in the Vishwarupa through the words of Arjuna. And he gets petrified. I mean, let's not jump the gun, but yeah. Uh, See, Krishna doesn't reveal much in one go. It's a slow, little by little, he keeps revealing more and more about himself, right? With great amount of reluctance, he started. We came to this fourth adhyaya, where he is now talking about himself. And what is he is something that we still don't get to see. We will see that only in perhaps in the seventh adhyaya, right? Until then, we won't get to see what exactly he is, right? We are all looking at different ways of understanding the same Paramatma. But nonetheless, this section is important for us to understand. See, at the end of the day, Murphy's law just says, when something has to go wrong, they will go wrong, right? Accepting the same Paramatma Tattva. But here, Krishna elaborates that so nicely, right? Good, bad, ugly, whatever anybody wants to do, they are all offering things to me, right? And karma siddhi is not bad. Expecting success is not bad. Celebrating, offering yajnas, or doing things for the respective abhimani devatas. Like for example, today, Sadguru is doing a lot on the Save Soil movement. Okay, at least ostensibly, he's trying to do something. Not bad, right? I mean, soil is essential. It's one of the abhimani devatas for the produce. Our food primarily comes from soil, right? Soil is the abhimani devata for the food. The bhumata so we have these concepts very deeply rooted. The nadis are sacred, the rains are sacred, the fire is sacred. Everything is sacred because Lakshmi is needed, Saraswati is needed, Bharati is needed. Everything is an Abhimani Devata. Gayatri is needed, Savitri is needed. There are different, Manoniyamak, Rudra Deva is needed. Every Bhagavan, every Abhimani Devata is needed. There are different karma siddhi that we all desire. Whether we say that or not, see, at the end of the day, mind control is a great thing, right? Brahma tapas is all about ekagrata. This manas and the indriya ekagrata is all about Brahma tapas. For that, we need to have the Rudradeva's blessings. We can't escape that. Without Rudradeva's blessings, there is no way to come, keep the mind under control, right? Now, for that to happen, we have to offer, and he will bless us. The more we do, if not him, go under Parvati, he will definitely bless, right? There is no escaping that fact. So what Krishna is telling is in different ways. They are all his own amshas, right? At the end of the day, all different Bhagavad Rupas, when we say Parabrahma Rupam Ganesh, every Bhagavan, we ultimately say they're all Parabrahma Rupa. They're all one reflection. Like, see, when we offer Yajna also, we offer it into the sacrificial fire. Because that Agni Narayana resembles the Surya Narayana, because for us the Pratyaksha Prakasha is the Surya Narayana. There is no one else to bank upon. And from Agni Narayana to Surya Narayana to Sriman Narayana, at the end of the day, because we really don't know. We really can't picture as a Sriman Narayana. So there are different setups that he has given us. And you desire things, go for it. Like Arjuna, for you have been blessed by Durga Mati, right? You have desired something. You offered beautiful prayer of 16 shlokas to Durga Mati, and she blessed with you. She came and blessed you. Like, no, victory be yours. No, Yato Krishna Stato Jayaha is something that has been uttered now before the Bhagavad-Gita started. Right? You got the blessing. So, Kshipram hi manushe loke siddhi bhavati, karmaja siddhi bhavati, whenever we worship those gods. So, this is also part of the Paramatma Tattva. While we understand the ultimate risk, there are also different enforcement agencies. There are different sub-ethereal godly figures and things like that. You worship them, you will definitely get the picture. You will definitely get the benefits immediately. When we have to do the risk planning, when we go by that Murphy's law, ultimately things can go wrong. You really can't plan for the black swan. You really can't plan for the tsunami, right? But there are other, karma siddhi devatas, abhimani devatas. They will definitely protect you. Don't worry. And then in the same context, he says this: Chatur varnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. Very beautiful, right? Now, unfortunately, people tend to see this shloka from a Dharma Shastra perspective. No. We have to look at everything that is being told in Bhagavad-Gita from a Yoga Shastra perspective. That is something that we have to understand, right? Now, we'll see what's the difference. He says, Chatur Varnyam Maya system. The four Varnas are created. Oh, let's see the Padacheda. Sorry, I jumped the gun. Padacheda. Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidhi Akartaram Avyayam Cha. What does Anvaya sound like? Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Maya Chatur Varnyam Srishtam Tasya Kartaram Api Mam Vidhi Avyayam Kartaram Api Vidhi. I just changed it slightly. But what does it mean? Let's see the dictionary. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, by the segregation of Guna and Karma. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, by the segregation of, by the distinction of Guna and Karma, Maya, by me, Chatur Varnyam Srishtam. The four Varnas were created by me. See, this is some misconception that we have to eliminate from our mind. Varna means Varnayati iti Varna, the one that describes. Whatever is a descriptive thing is a Varna. Like when we have in the language, we see Varna Mala. There is no Mala, there is no color. There are letters. Their letters are called Varna because there is a description for the letters. There is a section called Swaras. Within them there are Rasva Swaras and Dirgha Swaras and the Plutat Swaras and Ayoga Vahas. There is Avargiya Vyanjanas, Vargiya Vyanjanas, the Brudu Aksharas, Brudu Vyanjanas, the Karkasha Vyanjanas, Alpa Prana Vyanjanas, the Mahaprana Vyanjanas, the Anunasika. It's all description, right? They're all descriptive. Varna. जो भी वर्णन करता है वो है वर्ण. वर्ण का मतलब है जो वर्णन करता है. So There are four descriptive categories, Chaturvarnyam, the four categories, right? Maya system, created by me. Guna karma vibhagashaha, based on the guna and the karma. Not just guna alone, not just karma alone. Guna commensurate with karma, combination of that, we have created four varnas. Now, the way we understand is the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These are the four. But what he says, the context is karmajam siddhi siddh, chipram hi, manushaloki bhavati. For the sake of the welfare of the mankind. See, this entire Chaturvarnya, the whole message is, when we understand the big picture of dharma, adharma, because Arjuna is boiling the ocean very clearly, right? He is looking at, the desha dharma, kala dharma, kula dharma, sanatana, sanatana dharma, different dharma he is talking about. The whole purpose is, boss, you focus on your swadharma, leave out the big picture to me, the Paramatma Tattva. You continue focusing on that. Because the big picture is so beautifully designed that A, whatever you desire, you do the yajna to the respective Abhimani Devatas, you will get the results. B, this broad picture of the yajna is so delicately designed and so intelligently designed that everyone, each one will possess different guna, swabhava, and the propensity for a karma, icha karma, right? You have different desires of what you want to do, and you have different swabhavas, what you are capable of, what your intrinsic tendencies are. Based on that, there are four, which means each one is a useful idiot. I mean, swabhava sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad, right? Even a brahmana swabhava can have some defect, right? Like, for example, a brahmana, that's the begging. He has to, right? He doesn't have time with so much of adhyayana, adhyapana going on. He has to beg, right? And begging may not be right. And when we see that, right, begging is completely forbidden for the other three varnas. Shudra has to engage in sensory pleasures, but the other three varnas are forbidden from that. A Kshatriya will have to kill. The other three varnas are forbidden from that. The Vaishya has to accumulate wealth, right? Otherwise, he can't fulfill what he is here for. Visham Prajanami me. He can't do that work of looking at the welfare of the society if he doesn't, accumulate the wealth. So everyone is a useful idiot. The way when we understand Scott Adams, right, Dilbert strips, everyone is an idiot. We have to find the usefulness of each of those idiots, right? Everyone's got a flaw, everyone's got a strength. Bring them together. That's the Chaturvarnya system. Right? Somebody will have high amount of sattva svabhava. Somebody will have high amount of rajasika svabhava. Somebody will have high amount of tamasika svabhava. Sattva svabhava is knowledge oriented, but is detrimental for passion, detrimental for security. Sattva svabhava, in extreme sattva svabhava, there is a lot of detriment to security and there is a lot of detriment to action, right? Progress. In rajas svabhava, you have a lot of thing for progress, a lot of passion there, but detrimental to security, detrimental to knowledge. Tamasika, high amount of security, right? Completely protective. Like without the egg shell, the egg will not mature into a chicken, right? The eggshell, but eggshell is tamasika. The life inside the shell has no clue about the outer world. There is no knowledge. So each of the gunas, in its pure sense, have a plus and a minus, right? They all have usefulness and they all have deficiencies. Bring them together, right? There is a fabric. Now Arjuna has a problem. He is trying to blur the lines that he wants to take to asceticism. No. There are different people made, cut out for asceticism, to do the begging. You have the Kshatra Svabhava. You have the Kshatra Guna. Your karma is right now also of a Kshatriya. Even in an uncalled for situation during the Virata war, you, even though disguised as Brihannade, you took to the arms and went fighting. You chased the same Pitamaha, Guru, all of these people, right? You chase the same people away. Right? You have the natural Kshatra Svabhava. Different people have different Svabhava. Different people have different Guna and hence different Karma. Stick to your duty. Don't think about the broader Yajna Chakra. I am there. I am the one who created this Varna system, Chaturvarnya system. You don't bother about it. But having said that, tasya kartaram api mam vidhi, know me as the creator of the system, and also know me as the avyayam akartaram. I am the unchangeably the non-doer of that system also, because that system is based on what you carry. It's nothing rocket science, right? I might have said I created this, but it's not create. I have just set the gunas in motion, right? Tasya akartaram. I have nothing to do with this fourfold order. It's for your benefit. Akartaram means I have nothing to gain from this fourfold order. I did it for your sake, for your abhivriddhi, for your vivriddhi, for your karmaja siddhi. That's the previous shloka, right? Chipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. It is in the same context that, for the sake of the anena prasavishyadvam, in the same context of establishing progress for the society, I have designed this great yajna. One component of that yajna chakra, yajna apparatus, is this chaturvarna. I have created it, but know me as a non-doer, because I have nothing to gain for this. This is for your benefit. Don't take to asceticism. That's not you. There are bespoke people to take to asceticism, not you. You have a duty. Kshatratrayata. You are a Kshatriya. Protect people from the danger. This Kurukshetra war did not happen overnight. Right from Vanaparva, Bhima and Arjuna have been scratching their hand. Let's go for a war. Let's annihilate them. You just say, yes, oh Anna, oh Yudhishthira, we will go annihilate them. Just two of them. They had confidence of doing that. You guys were warmongering. Now you are telling you will give up. The 13 years of Vanavasa, Ajnatavasa, you were sharpening each of your weapons. You were keen on the war. What happened? Now he is giving up, right? So, who has to do what? It is ordained, don't worry. Based on their guna, swabhava, and their karma, things are ordained. You don't have to bother about it. You do your duty. Understand the Paramatma Tattva. I have created all of this. So why do we go wrong? Again, our mind wanders unnecessarily. Kama, Krodha. Right? Understand the Paramatma Tattva. This is all under his adhina. Right? The context is still the same. Right? So let's see what Aurobindo interpretation says. Okay. The fourfold order was created by me according to the divisions of quality and the active function. Know me for the doer of this fourfold system, and yet the imperishable non-doer. He has nothing to gain. When we say non-doer, he didn't do it for himself. He is the Chera Shayana. He is happily in his slumber, lying down and then witnessing it all. Right? Let's see what the next shloka says. The next shloka says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yodhijanati karma bhirna sapadhyate. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yodhijanati karma bhirna sapadhyate. The Padacheda says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spruha iti mam yaha abhijanati karma bhi na saha badhyate. Na saha badhyate. There is a saha. Saha badhyate becomes sabadhyate. Right? The Anvaya, it reads like this. Karma phale me spruha na. Mam karmani na limpanti. Iti yaha mam abhijanati saha karma bhi na badhyate. Basically, he said that, right, in the previous shloka. Tasya kartaram api mam vidhi. Tasya avyayam akartaram api mam vidhi. Know me to be both the doer and the non-doer. I think he is giving a little detailed explanation. Let's click on the dictionary. Right? Hey Arjuna, karma phale me spruha na. I don't have any interest, special interest in any of the karma phala. I mean, I have given the fourfold order. I have given the entire grand design of the different Abhimani Devatas and things like that. For your Abhivriddhi, not for me. Karma phale me smriha na. I don't have any interest, desire in any of the fruits of action. Karmani na limpanti. Mam karmani na limpanti. None of the karma will stick to me. They don't contaminate me, right? I don't have any attachment over any action. Iti yaha mam abhijanati, the one who understands me like this, karma bihi na badhyate, he will not get bound by the action, right? Papam charati purushaha, he says. Papa is what? Karma bandha, attachment, attachment over the results of the actions, right? So Arjuna's question is, why do we go wrong, knowing very well what our duty is, and why do we commit this sin? There are two pieces to that question, right? So the first piece is answered. Why do we go wrong? Kama, Krodha, there is something higher. The Paramatma Tattva is very greatly established. The Papa, best way to understand Papa is understand that, this entire grand scale of things, grand scheme of things, the grand design of Yajna, the life, the delicate Yajna, the interconnected Yajna is created by that Bhagavan. That's what gives the God to mercy, right? Something has to go wrong, will go wrong, right? It's a Paramatma Tattva. The one who understands that I am the one who, having created all, I don't have any special desire to change the course of action, of any action. If you want to fight, fight. If you want to give up, give up. I can only tell you because you asked me to. If Krishna desires, he can send one Sudarshana Chakra and annihilate the entire army, but he doesn't have any special interest. He wants that Ichcha Prayatna to come from Arjuna. Right? He doesn't have any Spriha, no special interest in any action. He went to the extent of striking the peace accord with just an offer of 5 villages. He doesn't have any interest. Whether it happens or not, it is to do with the Ichcha and the Prayatna of Duryodhana. Unfortunately, he didn't show. Now the Yuddha is happening. So Krishna doesn't have any interest in this is the outcome. A lot of us say that he's a warmonger. No, he has no interest. He is delivering this Bhagavad-Gita in a very reluctant way when we notice this, right? This is the 6th round of Bhagavad-Gita going on. Right? 6 times he is told Arjuna indirectly, get up and fight, done with Upadesha. But Arjuna's questions is what pushed us to this level. Arjuna is seeking more and more. It's not Bhagavan who is giving unsolicited jnana. He is given what has to be told. 5 times before, 6th time now he is about to tell, do your duty. This is the 6th discourse, right, of Bhagavan Uvacha. So one who understands that he has no spriha, like we keep talking, right? Oh Bhagavan, why did you give this to me? He has given nothing to us. We have guna. There is an action commensurate to that. We show ichcha. We apply the prayatna. We constantly work towards unlocking, discovering our own Swarupa Jnana. We stay true to that, to these 3 things. He will bless us. That anugraha will come, no doubt. This Bhagavan doesn't have anything. Like suddenly in our offices also, somebody will say, oh, why is it that, I am chosen for the African project, but this guy has been chosen for the US project. The boss has no special discrimination. In a right spirit, right? The bosses normally don't have any special discrimination. Somebody's ichcha, somebody's prayatna, somebody's self-realization state has made them take whatever is commensurate to their abilities. Within our houses, there are different ways our parents will treat each of our siblings. Somebody will be given the Bartan job. Somebody will be given the mopping and sweeping job. Somebody will be given the job of going to the shop and fetching groceries. It's all down to our ichcha, prayatna, our swarupa jnana. No partiality. Somebody who's been constantly given the job of birth and can't say, oh, why am I given this job? That's the swarupa jnana. I display something else, my parents will give me something else. Right? I can't cry horse, oh, Papa, why did you give this job to me? He has no spriha. Now he is lokasya pita, right? This Bhagavan is lokasya pita. Why will he have any partiality? He has no special interest. As much as he likes Arjuna, he also gave equal importance to Duryodhana. In fact, the first offer of refusal was given to Duryodhana. The Narayani Sena was taken by Duryodhana. right? Krishna didn't have any partiality, if that is the message that we have to derive from here. So no special interest in anything. And the one who understands this, that Bhagavanta has no partiality in the Paramatma Tattva, very important, because further drives the point. Do your duty. Don't expect Bhagavan to do any favors. Bhagavan at best will give you Jnana Bodhana through a document like this, Bhagavad-Gita. You have to fight the Kurukshetra war. If the Samaja, if the society has to be protected, you have to fight the war. Don't think that you will take to asceticism and Bhagavanta will fight the war. No. Bhagavanta at best will offer himself a service of charioteer to another warrior who is willing to fight the war. If it's not Arjuna. Right? That's all he does. The one who understands this nature of the Paramatma Tattva, that having created everything, behaves as though he's not done anything because he has no special ichcha, no special spriha, and no attachment, no limpana. Right? The one who understands this, that person will also be out of papa, no karma bandha, na badhyate. Let's understand what Aurobindo interpretation to this. So all of this is again driving home one singular point, which is Paramatma Tattva. Works fix not themselves onto me, nor have I desire for the fruits of any action, a particular fruits of any action. He who thus knoweth me is not bound by works. So Paramatma Tattva, we have to understand it very clearly. The gunas are set in motion. Right? Gunas are working. Based on the gunas, we all have our duty. Based on the duty, we have the segregation. Somebody is a Brahmana, Brahma Anati. Somebody is a Kshatriya, Kshatratrayate. Somebody is a Vaishya, Visham Prajanamine. Somebody is a Shudra, Shuchadravati. Different definitions we can attach later, but these are all Swabhava, Guna. Right? Very beautiful. Paramatma Tattva. So he has nothing special. He has created them all, and they are all in autopilot right now. Right? We'll go on to the 15th shloka. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvai purvataram kritam. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhihi kuru karmaiva tasmat tvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. What does the Padacheda give us? Scroll down a little below. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvaihi api mumukshubhihi api kuru karma eva tasmat tvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. What does the Anvaya give us, the prose order? When we put these Padacheda words in the proper sentence form, we get purvaihi mumukshubhihi api evam eva jnatva karma kritam. Tasmat tvamapi purvaihi purvataram kritam karma eva kuru. What does that mean? Sounds nice, but we click on dictionary. Purvaihi mumukshubhihi api evam jnatva eva karma kritam. Earlier, by all the people who desired moksha, mumukshu is moksham ichuhu, mumukshu, right? All those who desired moksha, mukti, earlier, they also understood the same and did their duty. See, ultimately, he brings the attention back to the moot point, which is do your duty. Right? Understand the Paramatma Tattva, but know the Paramatma Tattva primarily to pledge yourself back in action, your own duty. Because this Paramatma Tattva was understood like this by all the preceding mumukshu. All the mumukshus in the past understood the Paramatma Tattva in the same way, and they did their karma, vihita karma. They pledged themselves to the action, the ordained action. Tasmat, therefore, O Arjuna, tvam, you also, purvaihi purvataram kritam. All the ancient men are in likelihood to the Audible?
Bhartaji, your voice is breaking.
I to the power of the some way I have to
Still not audible properly.
okay. If anybody has any questions, please do come up. So basically, see what the Aurobindo interpretation says of this shloka. I'm suspecting I'm still not audible, right?
Bhattaji, the last minute was pretty bad.
Very bad, is it? Okay.
Yeah, now it was audible. The
How is
last
it now?
statement which you said, it's good now.
Okay. Okay. So basically, in the 15th shloka is where we conclude, perhaps if this is a subsection in the whole Adhyaya called the Paramatma Tattva, the Paratattva. Krishna concludes that all the predecessors of the Vamsha have also understood the same Paramatma Tattva and pledged themselves to do their duties. You also understand the same, and just like them, say, was done by the men of ancient old who sought liberation. Do therefore thou also work of that more ancient kind done by the ancient men. Little distorted, but basically all your ancestors did the same. You do the same, right? You will also get the moksha. Moksha from what? That is something that we need to understand. We will get to hear that in the next shloka. Is it audible, Ji, Mahodaya?
We are quite okay. We are
Okay.
quite okay. Not perfect,
Okay.
but okay.
Okay, fair enough. So basically, in the 15th shloka, finally he drills home the point. He drives home the point that Arjuna, all your ancestors did karma, being completely aware of this Paramatma Tattva, and those people were mumukshu. They sought liberation. You also please do the same, just like how your ancestors did, right? Which is do your duty, understand the Paramatma Tattva, do your duty. But he says mumukshu, right? Moksha. Moksha from what? This is something that we keep getting confused. At least in the society today, I think not many people have a clear understanding of moksha. Moksha, people tend to believe it is liberation from samsara. It is not liberation from samsara. It is liberation from the problems of samsara. Right? That is something that we need to understand. Moksha. I think we will get that a little more, clarified by Krishna himself in the next shloka. We'll quickly look at this one shloka and then maybe adjourn for the day. Because Shraddha ji had already set the next week's session of Pratipadartha from shloka number 17 onward. So we will look at 16th shloka and then close it there. Right? So 17th shloka, 16th shloka reads like this. Kim karma kimakarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshyase shubhat. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshyase shubhat. Right? What does the padacheda give us? Kim karma, kim akarma iti kavayah api atra mohitaha san. Tat te karma pravakshyami yat jnatva mokshyase ashubhat. Let's see what the Anvaya sounds like. The Anvaya reads Kim karma, kim akarma iti atra kavayah api mohitaah san. Tat karma te pravakshami he Arjuna. Yat jnatva ashubhat mokshyase. Right? What does that mean? For that we need to click on dictionary. Kim karma? What is duty? Kim akarma? What is recreation? What is action? What is inaction? Action is always duty bound action. Inaction means I show callousness towards duty, right? Which is then recreation, right? Inaction. What is action? What is inaction? Iti. Thus, atra kavaya api mohitaah sant. To know this, to understand this, even the greatest of the minds have been confused, have been perplexed, have been deluded. Even the greatest of the minds don't know what is duty and what is not, what to be done, what not to be done, right? Suppose if I'm in a restaurant, I run a restaurant. To one of the customers, they will receive a plate of say pulao, biryani with a cockroach in it. What is my reaction then? Change, right? Undesirable change occurred. We don't know how to react, right? So, see, one thing that we need to understand, this is the Jnana Yoga, right? The fourth chapter is all about Jnana, the awareness, Jnana Karma Sannyasa. One aspect of the Jnana is required to gain awareness for risk planning. With all greatest of the knowledge and greatest of the planning, things will go wrong. Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati. Then why would we go wrong? And that was looked into from the best of the sense. No, my own vasanas overpowering me. Like a Frankenstein, I only behave like a dichotomous self. Right? That's the extreme case, right? And that's the extreme risk being addressed. Okay, when the risk assessment need to be done, we have to wear the hat of mercy. If things have to go wrong, they will go wrong. Right? That's the Paramatma Tattva. But the second most important aspect why we need the Jnana is, at the end of the day, all of us are tested for our character with the decisions that we make, with the judgment that we, display. And that's the display of character. What will be done? What will not be done? My child fails in the exam. What do I do? Okay, do I bribe the officials and get the marks bumped up? Will I encourage the child to study harder and go through another round? Right? It's always a confusion. On the retrospective basis, even the right intentions would have sounded bad. The child didn't like the way that I pushed him or her to repeat exam, committed suicide. Hypothetically, right? We don't know. Anything can go wrong. And retrospectively, many things can appear like, okay, this is what led to this, the curious case of Benjamin Button, right? I mean, retrospectively, many things can fall in place, but we don't know what to be done, what not to be done. Kim karma, what is akarma? A stinker, the complaint I write to Airtel. Do they respond back? Sorry, sir. If they respond back, oh, this is your templatized response. I expected something better from you. Knowing very well that their templatized response will be caught and I will go more berserk, can they afford not to respond back? So even the most of the intelligent people are confused. What is karma? What is akarma? Because once we understand the greatest of the risk, like Murphy's law, right? If something has to go wrong, they will go wrong. Let me not do anything then. No, we have to do something, right? Because nobody knows what to be done and what to be abdicated, what to be taken up and what to be abdicated. Nobody knows. Even the greatest of the minds don't know. The character of that individual is depicted through the judgment that he displays. And
Bharataji, we cannot hear you now.
why does mistake because of
Bharataji, we cannot hear you properly.
coming. Sloka number 16 is basically setting us up for the next piece of message coming from Krishna under the Jnana Yoga. Jnana, what before the power goes off, the last sloka for the day. See, kim karma kima karmeti kavayo pyatra mohitaha. What has to be taken up, what has to be abdicated, what has to be delayed, what has to be dumped. Right? Even the greatest of the minds are confused. Okay, we are all bad at the judgment. The example I gave about the restaurant, where inadvertently a cockroach goes into the plate. Can I tell him that I will give you 10 days of free meals? He will go berserk. Why will I have 10 days more of this cockroach laden food? Right? Anything can be bad. Okay, there is no good solution for it. Right? So, what is karma? What is akarma? Even the greatest of the minds are confused. Therefore, I will tell you about the karma. Tatte karma pravakshami. I will now talk about the karma. Yat jnatva ashubhat mokshate. By knowing which, you will be liberated from ashubha. Now, please note, in Bhagavad-Gita, there are many instances where we keep hearing the word moksha, moksha. Moksha is always from ashubha, right? Not from life. Moksha is only from ashubha. That is something that we need to bear in mind. In the mumukshubhihi of the previous shloka are also from ashubha, because Arjuna's question is around what papa will they do? It is not that life is bad. We are all worried about the papa karma. Like we are all bothered about the karma imprint that we will accumulate. Right? Nothing will happen. I will tell you how to avoid that. It is not about how to avoid life. Like if I can avoid acquiring more karma bandhana, more papa, more ashubha, that is mukti. I don't need mukti from life. I have to remain in life. I have to be active in life. I have to participate in life, partake in this yajna chakra, not run away from the yajna chakra. Right? Mokshate ashubhat is something that we hear repeatedly in Bhagavad-Gita. It is not lock, stock, barrel moksha. Moksha is always from ashubha alone. I think let's stop here and please do refer about this. Can we conclude? Vijayji, Shraddhaji, Vishwanathji?
Yes,
Yes,
Bharataji.
Ji, wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jai Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. Namaste Vasudevaya, Preyasami Priyottama, Samasta Guna Sampurna Nirdoshanandadayine, Mukopi Yat Prasadena Mukunda Shayanayate, Raja Rajayate Rikto Raghavendram Tamashraye. Have a beautiful weekend, people. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.